Let's bring in Farouk. And Farouk, geez, what does one say? That man, you're hearing in the voices of Babu Zungu, we're hearing speaking to him a short while ago, Mark Williams speaking about how he gave them that opportunity to be who he was today. I mean, you've also had a long relationship with Clive Barker.
Well, I think, Clive was just not a coach. He was a mentor to many people. He was somebody that inspired footballers and football people. I mean, I remember him coming to youth tournaments, the Engine Cup, where one of the academy teams was playing, and he was so supportive. He was always somebody that was able to bring the positive to whatever he did. I didn't have a relationship with him as far as coaching players were concerned, whatever, but from afar, he was always somebody that inspired people like myself in the coaching fraternity. And whenever we met him, he was always somebody that would give accolades. Instead of wanting to get accolades, he would always speak up and say, you guys are doing such a fantastic job of development. Continue the work you are doing. And I think it was a little bit presumptuous to not utilize him after winning the African Cup of Nations. And when he went, to take the national team, I think it was to play in the international tournament, and subsequently he was fired. I think it was a bit too soon. I think he could have contributed tremendously, much more to football. But in saying that, I think everybody in the country knows what Clive Barker was about. I think, we can only say to him that you are a coach who has brought so much pride to South Africa. And I think up to this day, people are still talking about that 96 team. The man he was, he could make people believe that he could move mountains. I mean, when we played Brazil, nobody gave us a chance. And at halftime, South Africa was leading 2-0. It was playing against a fantastic Brazilian team. And yes, at the end, they beat us. But what a performance, I mean, every player you meet, whether it's Dr. Khumalo, whether it's Neil Toby, they only have good things to say. Even Mark Williams, they only have good things to say. Mark Fish. Whenever you sit down and talk to them about that 96 Cup, they speak glowingly about Clive Barker. Yeah,
you mentioned big names, Dr. Khumalo's. Let's listen. In fact, this is what Dr. Khumalo had to say, because after this, I want to bring back Babu Manzini from Amazulu. This is what Dr. Khumalo had to say when obviously the news broke on the passing of Clive Barker. Let's listen in quickly.
When you get that call-up letter to say you are in the squad, it felt like, I'm home. So that is why it was not easy for the 96 team to be disjointed. Never. That is why you could see the chemistry on the field. You could see the social factor on the field. It's because of Clive. Aranze had a problem while we were in the camp, 96. Someone at home was sick. He allowed Andre to go and take care of that. And when he came back, he received them with good heart. Now, you ask yourself, was Clive actually a coach? Because he was wearing too many hats.
What does one say? As you can hear, that Dr. Khumalo, obviously the emotions in the voice. Babu Zungu, let's bring you back in. I mean, Farouk mentioned how important it was as a coach. But I think as a coach first, you have to become a good parent because those players essentially become your family. And that is what instilled Gusutu. They were a bubbly team. They were a happy team. And Clive will always stand out as, in fact, I think in KZN in general, whether it was Manning Rangers, whether it was Maritzburg United back in the days as well, he was the man that always raised his hand for that province.
When I was doing Standard 3, Standard 4, thereabout in the mid-70s, it was not unusual to see Clive Barker walk into our schools to conduct some coaching clinics. And I can remember a couple of times in the Ilanga newspaper, you see a picture of Clive Barker, this Umlungu, at the Veterinary Stadium or in the local grounds at D section, conducting clinics. So he was already a very familiar personality, a familiar face, way before he broke into coaching Premier Soccer League teams or equivalent. By the time he coached Manning Rangers, Durban City, AmaZulu Football Club, Clive Barker was a household name in Durban and in KwaZulu-Natal. So it is no wonder that when you talk about the most eminent personality in AmaZulu Football Club or the history of AmaZulu Club, you cannot complete the list without mentioning Sugar Ray Kulu, Richard Ngubane, Clive Barker as a coach. In actual fact, he stands out as the most prominent of those coaches, and that he achieved great things. Even before Bafana, he is held in the highest esteem in our team and in our province. So indeed, we say with a very heavy heart, but with all sincerity, that he will be sorely missed. And his family did a lot of service, sharing him with us. And may his beautiful soul rest in eternal peace, because he was more than just a coach. He was a mentor to many. He was also a change agent, because he walked those townships, honestly, long before it was a common feature to see white people walking in African townships in Durban.
Yeah.
And therefore, him as a social force for change, is on record.
Yeah. Sanle Zungu, Chairman of AmaZulu Football Club, thank you indeed for joining us. I'm going to give the last word to Farouk Khan. Farouk, I mean, what does one say after that? I mean, everything that Ubabu Zungu has just said, it is so true. I mean, the Clive Barker that we grew up in, yes, we saw the helicopter guy flying in '96 because some of us were still young. But the reality is, in as far as change is concerned, everyone's got just good things to say about the man.
Well, what a fantastic eulogy there from the gentleman. I think overall he said a mouthful. You can't really replace somebody like Clive Barker. I think he's an inspiration to all of us, and I think a lot has been said about the man, but more than anything else, he was a humble human being. He was a human being that didn't allow fame and glory go to his head, even having won, being the only South African coach to win the African Cup of Nations. He was still the same person that you met before that, always very, very accessible, always somebody that you would be able to have a chat with, never brushed off anybody, whether it was a fan, whether it was a player. He used to kiss his players, hug his players, and you could see the chemistry between him and his players brought the best out of those great players that played in the '96 African Cup of Nations. And what more can we say but may his soul rest in peace, condolences to his family, and where we always remember the great man, the great human being that Clive Barker was.
Farouk Khan, Coach, Stars of Africa Football Academy, thank you indeed for joining us. We're going to give you the last word on that. That was, of course, Farouk Khan, as well as Sanle Zungu, speaking on, well, following the passing of Clive the Dog Barker. As you heard, both gentlemen, only good things to say, and may his soul sincerely rest in peace.